Hi, I'm Jen from House One, and today I'm showing how I installed a tile herringbone backsplash in my own kitchen renovation, using a double-sided sticky paper as my mounting surface. And I'll share my honest opinion of what I thought of this so-called shortcut. We're in the middle of a full kitchen remodel at my home, and so far we've done a lot of work to level the two-tier countertop and make it one level surface with an overhang for seating. I built boxes that I set on top of our upper cabinets to take the line up to the ceiling, and then had the entire space painted. We still have flooring and lighting and a lot of other things to finish in this remodel, but today I'm going to be concentrating on how I installed our herringbone tile backsplash. For this project, I'm using the same herringbone tile I installed on the fireplace, which I installed using a traditional method of using thin set mortar. So I feel like I have a really good apples to apples way to compare these two methods of installation. In our kitchen, we removed the existing backsplash tile and lightly sanded the area and patched a bit as needed. To begin, I shut off the power and removed my electrical plates and covered my countertop with plastic using painter's tape. To install the sticky paper, the instructions say to run it in vertical strips. So I lined the top edge under the cabinets and smoothed the paper downward until I could cut it with a utility knife along the countertop using a ruler as a straight edge guide. Working on the next strip, I aligned both the top edge and then the side edge with the strip that was already installed, and then firmly pressed all the paper in place using a grout float. When I got to the outlet, I lightly placed the paper over the outlet, cut out around the space, and then pressed the paper to activate the adhesive. The final corner was a bit tricky to get smoothed into place, so I pre-cut the base of the strip and then bent it into the corner where I could make a vertical cut with a straight edge. In full disclosure, installing this kind of tile, both in a herringbone pattern and on a mosaic sheet, can be pretty difficult, and I think I somehow forgot that from the last time I installed it on the fireplace. But I quickly remembered that when you're cutting these sheets of tile, you're cutting off the corner pieces of a lot of these smaller tiles. And so they're really prone to chipping, falling off the backing, and it's just really hard to keep the pattern aligned. So if I haven't totally scared you off from trying this kind of tile, my best advice is to start by laying all of your sheets out on a flat surface. You'll notice that sometimes the sheets of tile fit together, but the pattern isn't quite aligned. So make sure that all the slanted tiles are in line with those above and below. Next, I marked and cut the lines that will sit along the bottom and left edge of the first sheet of tile. If a tile falls off the backing, you can use a piece of tape along the face to hold it in place. You can see I put this tile in at the wrong angle and had to correct it, so just always double check your pattern. It's now time to cut the tile. I rented a large tile saw from the Home Depot and opted to put a board on the sliding plate of my saw because it equally supports the tile on both sides, whereas the groove on the built-in slider can allow my small herringbone corners to fall down in the crack and not cut properly or chip. This probably isn't recommended by the manufacturer, so use your own judgment when looking for a solution. Once the sheets are cut, I dried them off with a scrap towel and lined them up on the counter in the kitchen. Now I could remove the protective face of the double-sided paper and press the tile sheets in place, allowing a slight gap for a grout line along the wall and countertop. Using a rubber float, I pressed each section of the sheet firmly for about 5 seconds to initiate the bond. When I got to the outlet, I marked the tiles that overlap and used a utility knife to remove that part of the backing and tile. You can either snip out sections or make cuts as needed here, or leave this part until the end entirely. Either way, this is where the added difficulty of the herringbone pattern sort of rears its ugly head, as you try to cut and adhere really small triangular angled pieces. When I got to the upper row, I used spacers to hold the tile up and create proper spacing. In my opinion, this is when I realized that the sticky paper was really working against me, as I wasn't able to make any slight shifts in the sheet to open or close the gaps like you can when you're setting it into a thin mortar. But of course, the upside to using the sticky back paper is that you can grout the tile immediately, which is a huge upside instead of having to wait usually at least 24 hours. So I'm going to keep things positive and say if you're doing this in a hurry, that is a huge pro to using the sticky backed paper. Having said that, I didn't end up grouting until the next day anyways, since my installation took a full day and I wanted to get the saw cleaned up and back to the store. The next day I mixed my grout per the manufacturer's guide and then pressed it into the grout lines with a diagonal motion using a grout float. Once I completed a section, I cleaned the area with a damp sponge to clear the haze, rinsed the sponge to almost dry, and then wiped it again, while being careful not to reintroduce too much water into the grout. Once the grout was dry, I buffed it one more time with a dry towel, and then stood back to enjoy my new kitchen backsplash. To see more of my kitchen remodel and other DIY tutorials, visit the House One channel on thisoldhouse.com. I'm Jenn Largesse, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching. This Old House has got a video for just about every home improvement project, so be sure to check out the others. And if you like what you see, click on the subscribe button to make sure that you get our newest videos right in your feed.